This is a book report on conscious loving by Gay and Kathleen Hendricks. So my journey into co-committed relationships was definitely shifted from this book. If I could recommend it to everybody, I would recommend it to every human, just to kind of get a better idea of all these highlighted areas or places that resonated with me, and I made notes of them as I read through it. So I would like to read off a little bit of the book and a little bit about how it affected me. My own personal journey into co-committed relationships. They quote in the book, "Conflict is not necessary, yet is what most of us are familiar with." And that was like in the first chapter, and it resonated with me to the point of where I didn't want to read the rest of the book because it was familiar, and it was actually, I think, in most of my relationships, it was also created by myself, unconsciously creating conflict. And we'll get into that a little further with the upper limits of myself, but I also, the part about resistance to love, what I felt, or I could label now as not really feeling loved as a child, kind of took me into this destructive cyclical path of like relationships through friendships and romantic for like 30 years of my life. So I just wanted to dive deeper when I started reading this stuff. I'll put the gas pedal down here a little bit. The codependence, this statement really is powerful. Codependence is an agreement to stay locked in unconscious patterns. And when I read the first few chapters of this book, I just realized that my whole life was a codependent relationship with everybody around me and everything, even myself. I think I was codependent on my own self. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but creating a life where you cannot take 100% responsibility is what I created for myself. And I was always creating blame to myself and others most of the time. Withdrawing, numbing out, withholding, and projecting. Everything they mentioned in the book, yeah. I literally read this book and looked back and saw every relationship I was ever in through my adolescent years, my teen years, my 20s, my 30s, until 37 and a half, 38, and I'm 45 now, so it's taken me a long time, almost 8 years of patterns before the eureka moment was the last woman that I split from, and that was almost 7 years ago. But it was time to just drop the act, what they talk about in the book. Just you will unconsciously seek out your friends, or let's just say relationships from opposite sexes too, that who will support your habits. And I seeked out everyone that supported my own. Friends at the bars, women who would let me get away with drinking, just for me to like push their own emotional issues under the rug. Like it was just I thought I had a grasp on my healing over, I would say, 5 years or so. And then I read the book last year, and it was just like, wow, it was just more of an eye opener, I guess. So anyway, over the last 5-6 years, I've definitely committed to feel all my feelings and tell the microscopic truth, and keeping all my agreements. Those were the 3 biggest ones for me. Choosing to be committed to the change, because all those years, you come away and you know that it's not them, it's you. And it might be a little bit of others, but it's mostly you, because you created 100% of this life, whether you like it or not. And yeah, it just took me a long time. And I'm sure a lot of you can probably relate. But I've been single for a good while. And while I've been single, I've been able to start this journey before reading this book, and I've been developing the skill sets, I think, to bring into my future relationships. And as they say, becoming a free agent has been the most liberating work I've ever done in this life, because being a free agent was giving me time to really unpack the suitcase full of just, I don't even know how to, there's not even a word for it. I'll just put a suitcase full of chaos. But I was able to, basically, after the last life-changing breakup, it was like the programming and the emotional conditioning, everything was pretty much, I had to go through some meditations and some podcasts, but it took, 6 weeks, and that was it. I was kind of like, it's so determined to get through it. But yeah, this opened a whole new book of ideas on how to just project into a deeper sense of healing. So I did resonate with a lot of all the 9 traps they talk about, but 7 was the most. It was sidestepping conflict to avoid hurting others. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble reading my own handwriting. So the 7th trap was sidestepping conflict, avoiding conflict. And I did it to avoid hurting others. But most importantly, I avoided it because of the backlash it would have on me and my ego. And that would trigger me even more, because it would make me feel so bad or feel so guilty. But I couldn't have done anything bad, right? Because I was like the perfect partner to have. LOL. Just kidding. But it really, when it all comes down to it, Gay and Kathleen talk about self-love, and that was what it was lacking in me, is a lot of it. It boiled down to, making a decision to feel and heal. And after the last eureka moment, which I still have some here and there, of course we will forever, but the self-love came in slowly. And as we read on page 124, my personal upper limits was a huge problem. Upper limits with all my relationships. And that's what created just chaos, because we would get happy, and then one of us, or both, or I would, knock it down with something. And I don't want to get into the specifics because it would take hours. But the fact that they bring it up is the most important, because I didn't even ever heard of upper limits. I just thought that it was like, this is as good as it could get, and then it's got to be shitty after that, or it's going to get worse because it got too good. But I look now, and I just, every time that starts to come online, I just give myself some time. I create a higher upper limit and let my nervous system work into that, and then just keep moving up. I mean, we'll always have our ups and downs. It's the ebb and flow of life, but raising your upper limits is super important. Let's see, I didn't know how to expand at the time, I guess, into more positive energy. I would deflect and worry all the time about accepting positive energy. Only when the self-love came in to play is when this all started to make sense to me. And the self-love and then the upper limits, everything started changing. It all becomes much better. I did write some of this stuff out word for word, so I'm going to read off a little bit. As my journey began before this book on self-development, it wasn't until I read about the questions until things really took off for me within my new relationships with friends and current family. From really feeling my feelings fully, to creating requests out of complaints, to what do I need to say and how can I be of service. There are others too, but these were the most important to me. My adult life has felt like a struggle up till a few years ago, when I realized all of my service was to myself. After massive shifts in my conscious awareness, the suffering has turned into a flow in life I never thought was available to me or even existed for that matter. I truly feel lucky. My emotional awareness is so elevated since reading this book as well. My communication of feeling emotions and communicating them in a loving, straightforward way, as mentioned by Gay and Kathleen, has shifted my physical body as well. I'm lighter, more free in my thoughts and feelings, and I am quick to notice any distortions. Also, I always used to have issues setting boundaries within myself, others, and situations. The fear of letting others down, or even worse, as I mentioned before, the fear of the backlash to protect my own ego. I know my old approach was based out of fear of what I know now as not being able to recognize or distinguish the difference between my thoughts and feelings. And now, it's just a lot different. I had to read chapter 7 a few times, we'll put it that way, until I could really grasp what was going on inside of me. But that's, yeah, one thing or another. Back on track, sorry. Once I was able to make the recognition between them, thoughts, feelings, sensations, perceptions, it was on to healing the past conditioning, which most of mine stemmed from what I would label as father wounds, abandonment, violence, substance abuse, approval issues, etc., all with which affected most of my adult life. And all of my relationships up until about 5 or 6 years ago in a negative way, and now it's become such a positive thing. Positive people in my life too. I did have a particularly big issue with trusting of men in my life, bosses mostly. I think seeing an abandonment thing, and then as a young child, I thought everyone was going to bail on me. I do have one good friend I've had for 24 years, and he's seen me through the best and worst of days. And yeah, we're pretty tight still, but my best of days are yet to come. So, and I know I have some new male friends in this class as well. So to wrap it up, let's just say Gay and Kathleen's limiting beliefs on what stems from trauma, from I can't trust to nothing I do seems to help. They all resonated with me at multiple points in my life and still do. It's recognizing them and doing something about it that is the difference in staying stuck or moving through the completion of it. I choose conscious loving. I choose the lightness you feel when clearing something up. I choose to be authentically me. Even on a negative spiral, I choose to catch myself and attend it to myself to clear it up. I commit myself to knowing and accepting this is a long life journey of commitment, and in doing so, I will have greater patience when I slip, because I will slip, but I will have no shame in doing so. In closing, I quote from the book, "We want to live in a world of people who are aware, honest, and open to love." And I couldn't say it any better. So I would highly recommend this book to anybody alive. It's a good path to maybe just putting yourself in check. So since this is going on YouTube, I'm going to label it a real life book report on conscious loving by Gay and Kathleen Hendricks. So anyway, we'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much.